Hey everyone, you're listening to Concentrates with Dr. T, a podcast discussing cannabis science and business. This podcast is published on YouTube and Spotify. Please follow me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Discord. Please like and comment with any questions about cannabis you have. Today on Season 2, Episode 3, I will be giving you the remainder of my 11 tips for starting a marijuana extraction business. So thank you for tuning in. We'll get started shortly. In part 1, we started in on a list of 11 tips you should know when planning your marijuana extraction business. Here in part 2, we will finish the list. Let's jump right in. Tip number 6, select your extraction equipment. Let's get to the good stuff, and this is where I really shine. In order to have a successful extraction business, you need to have excellent extraction equipment. I have worked with many different techniques and many different manufacturers over the years, and I can provide precise equipment lists that will contain everything you need from your CO2 extractor or ethanol extractor, all the way down to the balances you will need that will have the required accuracy and capacity. Balances can be a couple $1,000s a piece, so purchasing one that ultimately doesn't end up working for your process for one reason or another can be costly when you go to replace it later. An even more costly mistake is to select your extraction method before you choose the kinds of products that you ultimately want to provide to your customers. I already mentioned that individual extraction apparatus can cost $500,000 or more. So let's say that you heard that you can extract cannabis using butane. So you order up a couple butane extractors, and then later decide that you want to provide the best cannabis gummies in the state. While you absolutely can use butane to extract the concentrates you'll need for your gummies, it won't be the most efficient solution long term and will ultimately bottleneck you. So depending on what you're trying to do in this example, CO2, ethanol, or ethyl acetate might be better choices for you. I can certainly help you make that call. But if you already bought the butane extractors, you might want to choose to make other product types for now as you build your brand or pivot in some other way. Another way an extraction equipment purchase can go wrong is to buy equipment that isn't listed by a nationally recognized testing laboratory or NRTL. If this is the case, you will either have to have your equipment individually inspected and certified, if possible, or purchase new equipment entirely. You want to avoid these kinds of expensive mistakes if at all possible. Tip number 7, build your team. You're going to need a team who can operate your business efficiently and who can ideally make you one of the top players in your state. So you're going to need an excellent management team with experience working in the highly regulated and highly competitive marijuana industry. This management team will further be able to identify the kind of candidates who make the best employees to work as your production team. Extraction techs, salespeople, packaging techs, compliance officers, and many other people will be needed to make, sell, and distribute your products. Creating a positive work environment and hiring passionate and dedicated employees isn't easy. Tip number 8, thoughts on facility construction and remodeling. You've built your team, your application license was approved, and now that you're done celebrating making it this far, you gotta ask, what's next? Well, now you have to hire the contractors who are capable of overseeing large and complex construction operations. A modern marijuana extraction facility is full of high voltage electricity, safety fixtures, ventilation, air purification, security, sensors, alarms, and other high-tech and high-ticket items. Having someone who knows how to lay this all out and construct it is essential. But even the best built facility can only function as well as its design. Getting the floor plan, workflow, and other important details right from the beginning will set you up for long-term success. Getting it wrong can be extremely costly in both lost production and future renovation costs. In many cases, the facility design occurs during the application phase. I can design your floor plan to be efficient, compliant, safe, and ready for GMP certification. Floor plans designed by me will help you avoid many common and expensive pitfalls. Tip number 9, other licenses, permits, and inspections. Oh, you thought getting your state level application approved was a doozy? Depending on where you choose to locate your business, get ready for some intense local scrutiny. In addition to all of the normal business licenses, construction permits, occupancy permits, fire permits, and everything else, you will also need special local permits for marijuana businesses. These local permits can come in the form of additional fire department permits specific for marijuana businesses, clean air permits, co-location permits, and more. You need to have every T crossed and I dotted to get through the gauntlet of inspections you'll face before earning your CO and being allowed to begin operations. It's no secret that many people are still hostile toward the idea of a marijuana business coming to their own neighborhood. If these people happen to be inspectors, they will absolutely put you under the microscope and look for any reason they can to disqualify your permits. So in addition to making sure everything is technically correct down to the most minute detail, you will also benefit from having leadership that is very diplomatic in the face of hostility and very knowledgeable so they can stand firm on what has been done correctly. Tip number 10, workflow development, employee training, process development, and documentation. Once you've got the go-ahead to begin operations, you will need to develop your exact workflow and then begin training technicians to perform it on a daily basis. You will likely have SOPs or at least some procedures or sense of how you intend to make your products, simply due to the fact that they're often required to obtain a license in the first place. And here you are. But these SOPs will need to be tailored to your exact situation. So having an experienced cannabis extraction manager or director will put you miles ahead of the competition. They will be able to quickly dial in your processes, document them in SOPs and production records, and train your extraction technicians to repeat the tasks. But remember, things like safety and equipment maintenance are also essential to running a successful long-term operation. Hiring an extraction director that cuts corners can lead to costly repairs and accidents down the road. That all said, once your processes and documentation are in place and your employees are humming along according to their training, you're really off to the races. Tip number 11, traceability. I'm adding a bonus 11th tip to this podcast. It's a bit of a buzzkill to talk about, but it is essential for you to understand the importance of traceability in your marijuana extraction business. Every single milligram of cannabis, whether flower, trim, in-process extract, final concentrate, or any other form, must always be tracked and traced. This includes what it is, whether flower, joint, tincture, or whatever, a link to a specific tag or ID number that must remain with the product at all times, how much of it there is, where exactly it is in the building, when it was created, and a whole ton of other data that tracks its lifespan from when it was a seed or clone, all the way through its growth cycle, through its processing steps, and finally into its form as a final product. This is all further traced to the dispensary you sell it to, where it is accounted for one transaction at a time as it is sold to customers. The purchase is not tracked to individual customers, however, so that is where traceability ends. You need to have an experienced, competent, detailed, organized, and diplomatic compliance officer to ensure that all of this is done correctly for each transaction, for each employee, every single day. Discrepancies in this system will invite inspections from authorities and are often the jumping off point for investigations into your business that can lead to large fines or even lost licenses and livelihoods. So whatever traceability is required by your state needs to be taken seriously from day one. Besides maintaining compliance, a well-run traceability system can also be a big benefit to your business operations. It provides a ton of data that can be used to further optimize your processes, track your yields, and discover operational issues early before they become larger problems. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to Concentrates with Dr. T and for sticking with me to learn all 11 tips for starting your own marijuana extraction business. Please reach out to me with any questions you have. Until next time, peace.